What's up, After Buzzers? Welcome back to Season 2, Episode 8, the series finale of Barry. Berkman over Block. We're talking Barry's plunge into darkness. We're talking Sally totally selling out. We're talking Gene finally learning the truth. All that and more coming up for you next.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Woo!
What's going on?
Hey. What's up, party people? I am your host, Erika Edwards, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Ricky Vitucci.
What's going on, everyone?
And the amazing and also beautiful Miss Conversation Piece.
Hello. How are you?
What's up, you guys? So we're here. We're talking everything, the season finale. But stay tuned all the way to the end because we have special segments. We have news and gossip, all that good stuff. All that coming up for you next. So stay tuned and keep watching. All right, you guys. Oh, my God. I loved this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this one really did it for me. Like, I think this might be the episode I like the best out of the 2 seasons, really.
For sure.
What do you guys think overall?
Great episode. There's just so much you see Barry going through. Like, he's trying to be so good. And then...
You think so after he killed half the cast?
Well, I wasn't trying to go there yet. But
not the half that counts.
but prior to that, Barry was trying to change for
The better. For the good.
for the better, but for
Sally?
no, what's the teacher's name
Gene.
again? Gene.
Yes.
I don't know why I just blanked out on him. He
was
was trying to
trying
change, and then like with the pin and trying to call him up, and it was good. I liked it. I saw a lot of good pieces in there. It just sucks at the end. Barry just went back to old Barry.
This conversation.
I don't know if he was trying to do good for Gene, but Gene was definitely a motivation. But I just think this episode was about like a lot of replacements. I mean, Sally replaced her script. NoHo Hank was replaced by Poutinier or whatever his name is that came from Czech. Sally. And who else? Gene, he replaces Barry with his son, when his son picks him up from the jail. So I feel like a lot of replacements were happening, and we don't know what's going to happen next season, but this left me wanting more for sure.
Oh, yes, exactly. I totally agree. So before we get into the dark stuff, let's start off the top talking about Sally and her performance. And as Ms. Conversation Piece mentioned, her switch, in her ending or whatever. So what did you guys think about her deciding to go, with the lie instead of the truth?
I don't think she decided. I think it accidentally came out. And I think she completely went off script because that's what she really wanted to happen in her life. I honestly didn't feel like she purposely went off script and said a different story. I think the nerves got to her, and it brought out the truth of what she really wanted to happen, what her ego was starving for her to do when all that stuff was going on. And for all that stuff to happen, it was just a Freudian slip of something that she really wanted to actually happen in real life, and it didn't. And she got that opportunity, and you could see her subconscious mind speak to her.
I think it was just a vulnerable place for her to go, and she didn't really want to because she was afraid what the people would think of her. She was afraid of what the class thought of her when she did it in front of the class, and it took her a couple times to actually get it out. And then when she was able to, it was embarrassing for her. She didn't even want to go back out there. So I feel like that, and then on top of that, Barry wasn't in his right mind. He wasn't, he was there supporting her all those other times. This time he was out of it. And I feel like with him being out of it, she was out of it.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I do think because right before she goes on and she's talking to Barry and she's like, I'm supposed to tell the truth. I'm
Yeah.
supposed to tell the truth. So I do think that, yeah, she was plagued by nerves. And then even when she met with her agent was clearly frazzled
She's
and
ripping up the
freaking out.
paper.
And, and she sold it out. And this is the biggest night ever. And but I do think when it came down to it, she made a decision like, no, I'm going to lie. And you know what I'm saying? And as opposed to, because to me, I feel like she was nervous at first, like you said, but then when her agent came and see her, she came to a place where she was like, this is my truth. And that gave her so much strength in these other episodes. That made her be able to turn down that crazy job deal or whatever. But at the moment when the rubber really hit the road, she was like, I'm going to go with the lie.
Here's an idea, and I thought about it the second time I saw this episode. The second time, she may have switched it to where she has the big performance, because remember, the agents loved Barry's performance over hers. Yeah. So since this was her show, her showcase, for her not to be able to give that performance and allow Barry to take the spotlight, because the spotlight's really on him, because he's the person who's abusing her.
Right.
And he has those big, powerful lines, and she's just there and like taking the abuse. So she may have, besides nerves, besides what she really wanted to happen in real life, but on top of that, she didn't want Barry to steal the show again. Because Barry, he stole the show. That got him in like the room for this freaking film. And it helped Barry out more than it helped her.
Well, I don't necessarily think, I do think she has a little jealousy with Barry and his
Right.
situation.
A lot of jealousy.
Oh, for sure.
But I don't think she didn't want him to perform at his full potential, because she needed him to pull it out of her and for it to be a good piece. I feel like she still wanted that to happen. That's why she slapped him.
Yeah,
She's
exactly.
Like, get it together.
Exactly.
Basically.
Now, there was a moment I felt like when she slapped him, he did have this look like,
He wanted to
you
kill
about
her.
to get it.
Yeah.
You about to get it. Because Fuches done made me mad and it's about to go down on your face. But he
Right.
held back, which I was kind of surprised because I was like, oh my gosh, he's really going to blow. But he held back. So.
I know. And that was a moment I thought, remember when he got the motivation to do it the last time when they had the standing ovation in class?
Yeah.
I thought that was the same moment he was having there, but it didn't do the same.
See, I
effect.
felt his performance like in the beginning. He wasn't supposed to go big. Like he was in a place of knowing what happened that night of the story. He's drunk because he has a drink. I mean, he's not supposed to just come straight outright. Like the character that he's playing gradually gets there. And I feel like his beginning few lines was on point. Like, who the fuck was that guy? Why?
Yeah.
He's a scumbag, blah, 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 right?
Right.
I think he was where he wanted to be.
And that's what I was about to
But
say.
she just went off the complete round.
But this is the thing. Both versions are powerful. And that's
Absolutely.
why everybody was coming up to her afterwards. So either way, either script that she went with, I think it would have been powerful either way.
But do you think people would have came up to her if she didn't blow her top? She wasn't supposed
See,
to
I
throw
think
the
they
table.
would have. I think they would have. I think they
I don't
absolutely
think
would have.
so.
They would have
Because
had a
to
different
me-
emotion.
To me, what was interesting was at the end of this scene or whatever, she and her agent, they kind of get it. Like she's almost in tears because everybody's like, "Oh, this is so great. This is so great." But this is in essence isn't. They tried to say it was different, but it wasn't that different from the cookie cutter thing that she just turned down. And so she knew it was. Can you stay true to who you are or not?
Yeah, but I feel like these people came up. It's not even. I feel like they came up to her because of her standing up to a man who abused her. Because if you hear one of the wives, I have a friend, she went through this exact same thing, and it's so good to see that you're actually telling the story and blah, 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 blah. So it's very empowering for a woman to actually stand up to a man who's not treating her right. And I feel like that's exactly what made everyone love her piece, is because she was the person who stood up.
I agree with that, but I also feel like it's to say, the masses all like Coke. You know what I'm saying? It was very strong, and it is the ideal, but it's like the happy ending. It's like the fairy tale, and what she did before was real. And relatable and real and authentic.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of where this one is kind of like, what did they say? The Mel Gibson movie. This is like
she's the shero.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? This is just a commercial, basically a commercial. But very powerful. I agree with you. But to me, I still feel like she was disappointed in herself because she wasn't authentic and true.
Exactly why.
Yeah.
That's exactly why
So,
she was upset, for sure.
Yeah. And so I think it'll be interesting to see in the seasons to come that dichotomy, because it's kind of like what we were saying before when she turned down that great job. It was like, the ladies, whatever, the revenge ladies or whatever it was. And it's like she turned that down because she wanted this, this deeper purpose. And now if she gets success, is she going to be able to stay true to her purpose?
But this is the thing. She's helping women either way, because most women don't stand up. Most women don't leave. Most women go through the cycle over and over and over again. So for her to put out a piece where a woman stands up, sometimes you need to see a victory.
Right.
Or not a victim. So that can be as inspirational as her showing her truth of her being battered and giving him another chance. Because it's relatable. People go through it. But at the same time, people need to see the stand-up version, because that will inspire them to stand up, I feel
like if it was true, it would have been so much more. It was great when she did. She even threw me off. I was like, whoa, did she just flip that table?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, she got, like, me going into it knowing exactly what was supposed to happen, and then her flipping the switch on her being the one that's like, I was like, wow.
But that's good acting.
She captivated me. Like,
that's a good movie.
She got me right, but people want to know, if someone finds out that that's not the truth, all her credit is gonna come off.
Oh, whatever. Avengers, none of that is true when the hero saved the day. So
Well, see,
people still love Avengers.
But those are superheroes, though.
Yeah, and I think, that's the question, though. I think that it really comes down to is how much do you give up of who you are, of your truth, of your art, of your, of why you're doing this outside of money for the success of what the masses want. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, right now, vampires might be hot or whatever. And are you willing to sacrifice your craft or your art or your gift, you know what I'm saying, and be authentic or you get the money?
I feel like that's not been authentic. I feel like every movie has embellishments, even if it's a biopic. Nobody's putting out their worst stories of their life. They're gonna amp up the good things that they've done. And even remember when she was like, we've inspired people, the whole class got up there and did a different version of their story. If you remember the alien story, when the guy got up there, he told it more detailed of how he saw his dad at the store. He gave him money and never heard of him again. But when we first heard that alien story, it wasn't as deep. It was like, oh, I see aliens. And we were like, what are you talking about?
His delivery was different.
Exactly.
If
And also the girl with the horse, where it was this other story about horses, when really you found out the true trauma was her mother died in a fire. Yeah. So to me, everybody was sort of trying to be them true selves, their true selves. And I agree with you guys. I don't think that what she did was a total sellout, but in the end, I feel like she feels like it is.
Absolutely.
You know
I think
the
agent even's like,
and
what just happened?
The agent was like, shoot. And then except the Mikes love it. So if they love it, it's fine. Theoretically.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that, I think what's interesting about that is I do feel like as an actor, as a writer, as any sort of creative, that's always what it comes down to. Do you want to make it and make money and be able to eat and do whatever, or do you want to be like the starving artist? That's always true.
I just want to say one last thing. All of these movies and the actors and actresses that play in them, and they all come from true stories, like Dallas Buyers Club, Matthew McConaughey. He won a freaking Oscar. People want to see the truth, and people want, the Avengers is not gonna win an Oscar. Great film, entertaining film, but the truth, like actual real life stories, stick with people so much more. And I feel like if someone finds out that that wasn't the true story, it's going to discredit it, because you could even see the agent okay, but that wasn't the truth. Like, her face, she had a blank face on, but she was confused.
Right. Right.
But you gotta also think that guy is still alive, and he also pressured Sally to not tell that version as well.
So do you think that's why?
No.
No.
She definitely did it because she was nervous, I think.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be interesting to see how her career starts
For
to
sure.
play out, because
Yeah.
this was a big power move for her.
Absolutely.
And it was interesting because she was the one going to Barry. Oh, I want to be so true. I want to be so true. And now she lies at the end. And so that's what's interesting, I think, about this episode is everybody is struggling with who they really are.
For sure.
I really think Sally's gonna blow up off of this, and that ex is gonna come up creeping like, this ain't my story. But that's a prediction. Never mind.
Exactly. Let's save it. Let's save it. All right. Before we move on to the next topic, someone has something amazing to tell you.
So I just want to say thank you so much for making us the ESPN of TV talk. Without you, there would be no us, and without no us, we can't give you some amazing content. So I'm gonna ask you guys some amazing favors. Please subscribe below, hit that little subscribe red button that you see, so you could follow us and get notifications once we go live and we're doing amazing stuff. Secondly, if you're listening to this on iTunes, please rate us 5 stars and comment on how you feel. And most importantly, thank you so much for supporting us and showing us so much love and allowing us to do what we love so we could give you some amazing content. So thank you.
All right, so let's move on to Fuches, our boy here, the craziness of Fuches.
I hate him.
Okay, so yes, I thought he was gonna be man enough to pull the trigger, but
I thought so, too.
He punks out. Yes, Ricky and I were both wrong. He totally punks out, and flees. And what's interesting is when Barry comes, so we see Barry running through the woods. And so Barry has a choice at this point to save Jean or to chase Fuches. And of course, he chooses Jean over Fuches. And I have a picture of the moment when he, if we can pull it up, of when he decides.
Which was a crucial moment. Which was not fact, but it was the first sign of Barry trying to do something better. He could have went after Fuches, because that's the reason why he was actually there, was for Fuches. He was trying to get at Fuches.
Yeah, but
Right.
when he started to hear the sirens, he knew it was too close of a time gap for him to get away also.
But that's a good choice, though. He's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to save the
I
teacher.
think he had a choice between. I think he had the choice to either pursue. I think he consciously decided, okay, I love, not love, I guess we won't say love, but his feelings for Jean.
He appreciates Jean.
He appreciated Jean.
I just think he didn't think that Fuches was going to be right there.
No, of course not.
And I feel like when he made the choice, it wasn't to necessarily save him. It was more to see what happened. He thought that maybe, he might have gotten him or something.
Exactly. All right, well, so here's our first pick, because actually I'm one behind. So this is the pick of when Sally freaks out and flips the script, which we already sort of discussed. And then the next picture is when Barry, decides and shuts down the, because to me, I felt like even here, he took a big chance by going with Jean to the police. You know what I'm saying?
But you have to know that he is a trained liar because he's an assassin. So they're always trained to have some kind of lie or backup
Yeah,
story.
definitely has a plan, but clearly running behind Fuches could have been easier for him. But, he's smart and he actually pulled it out for everybody. And so, so he decides to stay and show his concern and try to save Jean. Now, he doesn't save him by confessing, which he could have done, but he decides to stay and, save Jean as Fuches, flees.
But if you saw before he shut that trunk,
Yeah.
he planted the pin,
Exactly.
which was to cover his ass.
Yeah. Or everybody. I mean, why not save yourself and your friends?
No, right. But then he goes from making a good choice to seeing Jean if he's okay, and then he's like, shit, let me put this pin in here in case this comes back to me. They'll find this, and if the spotlight is on me now, now it's going to go off because of the pin and what is set and what the message is on the pin.
That's his assassin mind.
Of course.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Stacks.
So Fuches, so now we see this interaction between Fuches and our boy NoHo. So NoHo,
Freaking NoHo.
so Fuches is on the run and he goes to NoHo for protection. And NoHo's like, yeah, I can't protect you. Like, I can't even, they're not listening to me. But what's interesting, I think, is Fuches is kind of quick-witted as well and decides to like, oh, okay, you thought Barry could negotiate. I made Barry. Let me see what I can do. How did you guys feel about Fuches really kind of turning the tables and kind of saving himself, actually?
I mean, he's
I
classic
think
Fuches.
it was not going to happen if Esther and Cristobal didn't show up because they have allegiance to Barry. So if they wouldn't have showed up and Barry's the one who trained them, Barry's now friends with them, I don't think that Fuches could have talked them into whatever he was trying to do.
Wait, who's Barry? Friends
The NoHo
Chechen-s.
Hank's army.
Right.
So
Okay,
remember
okay.
he trained them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, I was kind of interesting. It was interesting about that because I was so surprised. I thought it was. I kind of understood why they let Fuches in because he did negotiate this settlement between Cristobal and Esther and NoHo, and they're like partying it up or whatever. So I got that part, but I was surprised that they were so quick to turn their guns sort of on Barry or to
Well, the only reason is because Barry came in shooting.
blasting.
Yeah. And he wasn't going to do that until Esther was like, white man in jacket. It's him.
Yeah.
No, white man in Lululemon tracksuit.
Yes, exactly. Shout out to Lululemon placement.
Right? Everyone's going to buy
Everyone's going to
Lululemon now.
Exactly. So that was interesting because I was like, well, okay, they let Fuches in to negotiate, but I did feel like their allegiance was with Barry. So that was really, I thought that was a really interesting play on that.
But you have to see when Esther and Cristobal showed up, NoHo Hank and Fuches were just in the middle of having a conversation about
Right.
to speak to the army. So the army didn't even know what Fuches was there for. They just saw him as another body there. And then when the whole Cristobal and Esther situation came about, that was Fuches thinking quickly to, go cover his tracks because he already knows that he needs an army to help him.
Right, and not just that, though. I mean, exactly. He needs protection. That's why he went there to NoHo Hank. But what I thought was interesting was that Fuches finally said, oh, okay, well, I can't kill nobody. I'm not no killer. But I can negotiate. I can talk some nonsense.
Yeah.
I can manipulate. I can make them, stand
That's
down.
what he's good at.
That's what he's good, fast talking. So that was kind of, I thought, an interesting move on his part.
And how about the point where NoHo and Cristobal meet?
Oh,
and they
when
make
they
up
hug.
and they hug, and then Cristobal's like, "Te amo, que corazón," and then he starts humping him.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
What is
The
going on?
bromance,
The bromance is real.
back. Yes.
And it
yes.
makes Esther feel some kind of way. Esther's like giving him like the dog eye, like
Yeah,
she's
the
ready
evil
to,
eye. Esther is ready to go
Attack.
to go crazy. So as this is happening, we see Jean is taken into custody. So Jean is totally like
Traumatized,
in a
for sure.
stupor. You know what I'm saying? He's totally in a stupor at this point, and he's totally upset. And then the pin saves him. And what's interesting is, as we mentioned, Barry, he calls Leo. Or he calls Jean. He's calling to check up on Jean, and he calls. And here's a picture. That's the next picture I have. Is kind of how sad Barry is at the bus stop.
Yeah, he feels like he messed up and that, Leo is there to replace him, I feel like, because he's like not used to, Jean having anyone to be there for him, and they're kind of there for each other, I feel like.
I agree. I think that when he talked to Leo on the phone, and it was so interesting because he was like, tell your dad, I think, people can really change. And then he goes on to like not change, obviously. But that part, I do agree with you. I think he thought he was being replaced. He just seemed so down and lost at that point, trying to be good.
I think that moment that Barry was at the bus stop, I think it wasn't just only that he felt like he messed up. I think it was a lot of things. I think he was still in shock from Sally's performance. That's number one. Two,
Right.
he was still afraid for Jean because they think this whole time Barry still thinks that Jean is going to jail for killing her.
Exactly.
So
And but Fuches told him, if you want to save him,
You have to
you can
confess.
confess.
Yeah.
Now what you gonna do?
But this is the thing. He wasn't there. So how... I feel like Gene. He wasn't there when it happened, so I feel like he has an alibi. So I kind of feel like that's why Barry isn't
Well, no,
too
no,
concerned.
no.
But they got-
But the thing was that Fuches called and said,
exactly.
"I killed her."
Yeah.
So once
his phone.
Yeah, from his phone. So once you confess, it's like, you know, and you do have a good point. Like if he had he been responding, and they were like, "Oh, this mystery person," you know, and it was interesting because the pen just magically saved him, which was a great thing, and you know, so it's kind of interesting, and then. The moment when Barry gets the text and it's like, okay, he's lost Jean. He's, you know, Sally's moved on without him. And now NoHo Hank is like, well, we good. We don't need you because we got Fuches now.
I don't think he gives two craps about Sally. I think he's genuinely, this whole time, he's so worried about Jean and doesn't want Jean to go down for something that he didn't do. Because if he has, look, at the end of the day, Barry has a lot of love for Jean. Jean has
Right.
done a lot. Even though Jean has his little, you know, he has his...
You got to pay me right now.
Right.
Right,
Like he
right.
does things for things back, but he still has an appreciation for Jean, and I feel like he's calling to be like, so what's going on? Did he get booked? And then when he hears that they found the pin, he's like, yes, thank God.
Well, this is the thing. I feel like he is only concerned with revenge at this point. Once he hears Fuches is there,
Oh, he's done.
it wasn't, oh, I'm being replaced. It was, let me go kill him and whoever stands in my way. And that's exactly what he did, except he didn't get to Fuches.
I don't think it had anything to do with him being replaced. He had a mission. It was Jean being okay and killing Fuches. Those are the two things that was on his mind.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, but I do think there's something interesting in that at that point, he had lost everything.
For
So he
sure.
has nothing to lose. And all of this trying to be good. And now, you know, now he has no one really. So he does. So, you know, so he goes on this rampage. And so what's interesting is, yeah, he's after Fuches, but he just comes in shooting.
Yes, he's
Guns
back to the
a-blazing.
old Barry. You know,
Guns.
when he first came, you see how he killed all four of the Czechs.
Yeah.
Chechen. What do we say? How do we say?
Chechens.
Chechens. I said Chechens. Chechens.
Damn chickens.
When he first killed them, because remember, NoHo Hank has forgiven him for the others that he killed.
Right.
And so this is a reminiscent of when Barry was on his A game as an assassin.
Exactly. And then I have a picture of
Because he killed everybody.
Oh my God.
Oh, I'm always a picture behind. Okay, so here is a picture of Jean reuniting with Leo, which I was really touched by
Yeah.
this moment actually, because it never really explained what caused Leo to make the big turnaround. But
I just feel like when
your
family needs you, you're going to
step
be there.
up.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's your dad, too.
I agree. And so then the next picture, the next one, that's Fuches. Like that picture says it all. Like Barry goes on this rampage where it's like he can't even see what he's doing. He's just shooting. And one thing I found interesting, well, two things in the rampage part was when he shot when he came back and saw that he had killed Maybrick, his protege, that's when it finally like clicked to him like, oh my gosh. He totally freaked out. But what was also interesting, and they talked about this in the after show or whatever, was that he used that bullet that NoHo Hank said, okay, take, that NoHo Hank first got when he messed up. The bullet that you use when you take people out. And that was the one that was on Esther. So that was really, I thought, an interesting way to kind of tie the story together.
Well, he had no choice but to kill his protege, unfortunately, because he was going to kill Barry. He just flinched.
Well, exactly. And that was the best part because that's what Barry told him. If you pause, you die. And that's exactly how he died.
I don't think he was trying to kill Barry. He didn't even know who was shooting. So he was just ready to shoot whoever came through that door, and the minute he saw that it was Barry, he stopped because
that
he
made
like
him flinch.
smiled.
Right, he paused.
Yeah, he paused to see
and
Barry.
Barry did not. And fundamentally, that was Barry's point in training to him.
Right.
That was his one mistake even back then. If you pause, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And that's
what
the
happened to him.
full circle, because when he paused, when he was about to kill Esther, that's how Esther recognized him, and that's how the whole
Right.
shootout
Exactly.
happened.
Boom, we just saw him and shot him right in the head.
Exactly. And this is the one time where he really followed through with all of his training that he taught them,
Yeah.
that he hasn't been following all season. He came with it. He was like, nah, you all going down. Now, Fuchs still escaped, nonetheless, but,
He was able to convince them in 2 minutes just by this whole negotiation of a softie that Cristobal is. The only reason that Cristobal, made up with NoHo Hank is because he's a big softie.
Exactly.
Mr. Softy. We still love you, though.
We love you, Michael. Come back, Cristobal.
He's actually
next season
shooting Mayans now.
Yeah. So now he's a mean drug dealer. But yeah, so that whole thing I thought was so interesting. You know what I'm saying? Just his whole freak out, and then when he kind of like is almost in tears when he realized what he's done. You know what I'm saying? Really, he realizes, kind of how far he's gone, and they sort of close it out with him like sort of walking into darkness.
How beautiful.
In this game, you gotta be dark. You gotta have a black heart, because you're gonna end up killing a friend. You're gonna end up killing somebody close to you. I mean, this is how it works in this field. I guess.
If you saw the after show, right? So Bill Hader says that in the beginning they introduced Barry of him coming out of the dark,
out of the darkness,
and then they have him exit into the dark, which was a great. And I have my fun fact is going to explain how he came up with that.
Yeah, but that was I loved that scene,
Yeah.
and I loved kind of the depth of it because it really kind of touched you, and it's it's like, okay, how is he like this one man wiping out everybody?
And how did NoHo Hank stay alive after all of this?
All right,
He was hiding behind the Buddha.
Here we have the next picture. Finally, NoHo Hank hiding behind pops up with Latier, the guy from Chechnya.
I thought his name was Poutier.
I thought it was Latier, but Poutier.
Poutier, Latier, all same difference.
You guys, let us know in the comments. So it's interesting because I think originally had people survived, NoHo Hank would have been shipped back. But now we'll save it for.
Does this guy know that Barry's the one who killed the Czechs?
Before or this time?
Not this time.
The first time?
The first time.
I don't think we haven't seen this guy, so I don't know. We won't know until next season.
Well, remember they were calling him over the phone and they were giving Hank the orders, weren't they?
Right, but I don't think, because remember when before Hank kind of covered it up with Barry, and then everybody who was here died except for NoHo Hank, so that's how he moved up. So I don't know what these people know or what that guy knows really.
How funny though, NoHo Hank in the beginning when he walks in and then he's pointing to the big Buddha. And he's like, that's such an eyesore. Let's get that removed.
Exactly.
Well, that thing just saved your life.
Right.
Exactly.
Because you're hiding behind it, so no one's seeing you. So, I don't know. I found it to be pretty ironic that he was hiding behind something that he didn't even want there and thought it was a complete eyesore.
Exactly.
I thought it was pretty funny.
And that's what I really so much loved about this particular episode, because it tied up all of the loose ends in a way that was natural and not corny. Because, sometimes you're like, oh, okay, I got it. But this way, things were sort of surprising, but kind of a natural resolution to whatever was going on with the particular character.
So funny.
So, so it's so interesting. So it's like, okay, well, NoHo Hank, of course, survives to live another day because he's not a fighter. You have to have no soul, to quote Fuchs, in order to kill somebody.
He's a professional hider.
Exactly.
He's a hide and seeker.
Well, I think he's gonna hold it down for Barry, and
All right, well, let's wait, because we're almost done.
All right.
So,
she's excited, everyone.
I know, everybody's excited.
She wants
about
her
the
predictions for next season.
I'm not ready for it to be over.
I know, but Thank God it's renewed because we can't wait, really. All right, so the final scene, OMG. Okay, so when you think you could not be surprised anymore, we close it out with Gene reminiscing about our girl, Paula Newsome, Janice, and all the moments that they had together. And then, that moment when he realizes, which is what I have a picture of right here, when he recalls that Fuchs whispered to him and said, Barry did this.
Which I'm upset that we didn't catch that and question it last show. We completely...
Because I barely heard it.
No, they didn't say anything. It was completely on a... There was no sound.
Oh, okay.
But I'm surprised that we didn't catch that.
Well, you know what? I think when I saw it, from what I recall last season, he had the gun.
Right.
And it was like he was going to shoot. And then it wasn't until, I didn't notice till this episode that he leaned in. I was like, is he kissing him? What is he doing? I did notice a lean in at the beginning of this episode. So I don't know if, I don't recall seeing it last episode.
I recall seeing it.
Yeah.
I saw him lean
me too.
in, but we, like you said, didn't hear what he said. So I thought he was just like, how you talk to someone before you kill him, like you whatever, and then you kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was like the craziest ending ever.
He's like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh, like Barry is responsible. So.
But then again, how do you trust someone who said that, who gave you a fake name?
Who did, your
did you die,
confession.
But he's not
Yeah.
thinking of it. He's just feeling all of these
right.
emotions. And the thing about it is, I don't even think that's what's going to make him and Barry fall out. It's going to be the fact that Barry is guilty and is going to have this guilty conscience, and it's going to make him have to like fess up to Gene.
Yeah, and all right, you guys. We're not going to hold on any longer.
She just gave you all her predictions.
I have more predictions.
I know. Okay, all right. Let's do our, before we do predictions, because I have a response to that myself. So let's do let's do our special segments. So let's start off with Busted Everything's Drugs.
So this drug lord that was busted in the 90s, his name was Jean Lee Yi Gon. He was born in 1963 in Shanghai. He's a Mexican businessman with Chinese origin. He was accused of trafficking pseudoephedrine from Mexico to Asia. At the time of his arrest, he had $207 million in cash. Wow. There's a picture of it.
Wow.
Plus 18 million in pesos in the house. He claims that he was forced by Javier Lozano Alcon, and he was the Secretary of Labor at the time, and he was told to keep it at his home, and the money would be used during Felipe Calderon's presidential campaign in 2006. And that caused the charges against him to be dismissed in 2009. So he was able to get away with all this money laundering, drug trade, all of that because he was forced by the government.
So he's out there living his best life right now.
It's a lot of government corruption and stuff happening with these drugs.
Exactly. It is a little crazy. All right. So our next special segment are behind the scenes fun facts.
Ooh. I like that sound. Okay, so Barry star, executive producer, writer, and director Bill Hader has been kind enough to speak with Collider at length about each individual episode of Barry Season 2 for the past 8 weeks. And during their extensive chat about the finale, which Barry directed, he shed some light on how his conclusion came to be. Hader revealed that the final 10 minutes of the episode came to him in one fell swoop while stuck in traffic, and discussed the challenges he faced in directing such a complex, character-centric episode. So he thought about that idea about the ending when he was stuck in traffic on his way to Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I was about to say hashtag 405, but if he was in Saturday Night Live, then it was in New York.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
That's a good creative space. Sometimes in your car, you could just think of stuff, especially when you're stuck in traffic for 45 minutes.
Especially something dark and violent, because traffic is the worst.
In LA, yeah.
Exactly. All right, you guys, the moment you've been waiting for, our predictions for next season.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, take it away, Miss Conversation.
Oh, I
Piece.
have so many predictions.
Well, we know.
I know.
I feel like the same way that Cristobal was able to forgive NoHo Hank, he's gonna forgive Barry, and still like end up working with Barry in the end. So even though they're with Fuches right now, I feel like Barry will still be able to work with the army, and they will have his back, and Fuches will get out of the way some kind of way. NoHo Hank, I think he's gonna end up going back to Chechnya. Is that where he's from?
Yeah, we'll go with that. I
say
can't pronounce
Chechnya.
it either. We'll go with it. We'll go with it. I'm pretty sure that's as close as I'm gonna get. So is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ricky.
So Fuches, I think next episode is going to be, the whole episode is going to be Barry chasing after Fuches. I think Fuches is going to start his own gang, and I think Barry and NoHo are going to collab. I think Barry, NoHo, and Cristobal are all going to collaborate together and go after Fuches, because I believe Barry is going to manipulate, well, not manipulate, but, you know, tell a story and really try to convince them to go after Fuches. I don't know who Fuches is going to round up, but I feel like that's going to be what season 3 is. And then I feel like Barry at some point is going to see Sally and to see how much of a what's the word I'm looking for? That's not a mean word, but she's just all about herself.
Self-centered.
She's a self-centered. So I think it's gonna ding on him, because if you saw this last episode, she asked him how the audition went, and he responded, and she was, number one, she's smoking a cigarette. We never even saw her smoke a cigarette.
Exactly.
And then 2, her reply, I didn't really want an answer.
Yeah.
I was like, what? So I feel like Barry's gonna notice that and is going to address it, and then the whole season 3 is gonna be Barry going after Fuches.
Ooh, I have another prediction. I think him and Sally will break up because he's going to end up having to leave now that Gene has heard this premonition, or
Facts.
thinks that he recalls. He will now banish Barry, and Barry is now going to be Berkman again, because we heard him say that.
Yeah.
And he's going to give up the acting class for a little while. He's going to give up with Sally, and he's going to be his assassin self. That was my prediction.
Yeah, I do feel like Barry's, going into darkness is going to go further until he probably finds Fuches. I do think NoHo Hank is going to somehow, end up basically on top, and I think Gene is gonna absolutely kick Barry out the class. I don't think he's gonna turn him in, but I think that at right now he's gonna start off the season, at least next season, as Barry Berkman. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. This has been an amazing after show. Thank you guys. It's been a great season. So we hate to leave you guys. We hate that it's over. But Miss Conversation Piece, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Instagram at MISS Conversation Piece. I can't wait for the next season, you guys. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in.
And you can find me at Ricky Vitucci on Instagram and all social media platforms. And I love you, and thank you so much for the support.
And you can follow me on all of my social media at Erika, Erika, D as in door, Edwards. It's been a great ride, you guys. We love you. Come back next season because it'll be bigger and better. Stay tuned. Ciao
See you,
for
everyone.
now, folks.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.